Hello. The Divine Code reading for February 5th, pages 485 and 486. We are in the chapter, The Prohibition of Homosexual and Bestial Relations. Topic number 1. A male is forbidden to engage in anal, that's abnormal intercourse with another male, whether an adult or a minor of any age. All types of same-sex erotic contact are forbidden, as will be explained. Anyone struggling with the emotional, psychological, and/or physiological and/or psychological dimensions of same-sex attraction is encouraged to read The Light in the Closet, Torah, Homosexuality, and the Power to Change. This book addresses 23 categories of sexual brokenness, which are behaviors, desires, or fantasies which are inconsistent with the Torah's designation of heterosexual marriage as the only context for intercourse that is blessed by God. It insists that no one should be denied the right to receive information on or access to the known effective means of gender reaffirmation, counseling, and treatment for sexual disorientation. It includes discussions of relevant Torah law for Jews and Gentiles and indicates the permissive or even promotive attitudes found in many countries about indulgence in homosexual relations. So this is a book that talks about the proper biblical attitude towards homosexual or heterosexual relations. That's the Light in the Closet book. Orthodox rabbis agree that homosexual acts bring harm upon a person, and a professional counseling should be available to help individuals overcome SSD. That's the same-sex attraction. See Shikut in English, volume 30, pages 120 to 130. The National Association for Research and Therapy of Homosexual, NARTH.com, and Jonah, Jews offering new alternatives for healing. That's jonahweb.org. Work for the right of anyone with unwanted SSA, same-sex attraction, to receive effective therapeutic treatment, and for the right of professionals to offer that care. Abundant information, including resources to locate participating local therapists, is available on these sites. And this has been a very politically charged topic. There are these organizations that offer this kind of counseling are being attacked by the people that think that homosexuality is okay. And according to the Bible, it's clear according to the Bible that homosexuality is not okay and that counseling is appropriate. Concerning whether it's an adult or a minor, that's Rambam Laws of Kings 9, 5, and 6, or of any age. Radvaz and Kriyat Sefer Hilkot Malachim, chapter 9, Radvaz writes that this is learned from the verse in Genesis 2, chapter 2, verse 24, and cling to his wife, and they shall become one flesh, which excludes intercourse with any between males and males, because the becoming one flesh refers to having children, and the male and male is impossible to have children, even though heterosexuals might be beyond the age to have children, but still it's the normative way that such relations are designed to operate, and the male and male relationships are not designed to operate. Concerning the question of whether the other person is an adult or minor would be upon the one person who we assume is an adult of any age, means it's not allowed at any age. However, a minor would not be held legally responsible for such activity, just as a minor regarding forbidden heterosexual relations would also not be held liable in a criminal sense, unless the person is above a certain age, in which case they're considered an adult and they'll be responsible for their actions. Both male partners in this transgression are liable for a capital sin if they are consulting adults, that is, each is liable if he was not forced. So assuming that they're consenting adults, then they're liable. That means a death penalty in a court of law. They would be liable according to biblical law, according to Torah law. A minor boy who participates in this act with an adult male is not liable. So again, the child who below a certain maturity or below a certain age threshold would not be considered responsible in a court of law. It's still forbidden, but it would not be a legal issue. And for that we see Minhag Kinok Commandment 209. I'm sorry, and that would be Rambam, Laws of Forbidden Sexual Relations, Chapter 1, Topic 14. If the adult male who enters into the minor boy, the adult is liable for capital punishment regardless of the age of the boy, and regardless of whether the boy is a Jew or a Gentile. That's the Minhag Kinok Commandment 209. However, if it is the minor who inserts his organ into the adult male, the adult is liable to capital punishment only if the minor's age is 9 years or older. Again, that goes into the question of whether for a boy, 9 years is considered the age that he's considered physically capable of marital relations, or physically capable of intercourse, and if it's below that age, it's not in the same category. It would still be under the laws of damages for physical injury to the child, but it would not be considered it would not have the definition of sexual intercourse. If the male who inserts his organ into the younger than 9 years old, this does not fall into the Torah's definition of sexual intercourse with a male. Needless to say, the legal system should still specify significant penalties for sexual molestation of minors. And I would say that would either be for boys or for girls. Obviously, society should have very strict laws protecting children. But that's up to the courts to determine those laws. It's not a technical Torah law. It's something that each court has to decide how they're gonna handle it, and they would have permission to execute people if that's what they feel, or they can send the person to jail for a long time, or whatever the court decides is appropriate for that person. Even if capital punishment does not apply according to Torah law as a deterrent for such sinful and morally corrupt behavior, see the comment to topic 113 above. That's again where they were saying that the courts are allowed to establish further punishments for people. As explained above in topic 113, and neither partner would be liable for capital punishment for this sin. Minhag Kinok Commandment 209 differs. The rules that for Gentiles no exemptions are placed upon an adult's liability for acts of forbidden intercourse. So according to the Minhag Kinok, which is a deeper exclamation of the Sefer Kinok, for Gentiles, a person that would have relations with a minor child under the age of 9 or under the age of 3 for a girl would be considered the same as if it was an adult. They don't have that leniency in the Torah law regarding minors, and it would still be a death penalty for in that case, according to the Minhag Chinuch. Rabbi Zalman Nechemia Goldberg notes that the author is following the reasoning in topic 113 above, but it appears to him that in regards to Gentiles, there is no difference of rabbinical opinion as to whether an adult is liable for capital punishment. In this case, an adult male who is sodomized by a boy who is less than 13, and therefore Noahide court would not apply capital punishment in such a case because there is doubt. So according to the Torah law, if there's a doubt about something, there's rabbinic opinions on either side, and there's a significant doubt, then capital punishment would not be mandated. However, the courts can still decide to have whatever punishment they see as fit. The author responds that Rabbi Goldberg's opinion is like that of Minhag Chinuch. This opinion, which holds that if an adult, male or female, is interred by a minor boy less than 13 years old for forbidden relations, the adult will be liable if the boy is 9 years old or more, is dependent upon the argument, as mentioned in topic 112, among rabbinic authorities as to whether the status of legal maturity for a Gentile is necessarily reached at age 13. According to the opinion that the boy's legal majority depends upon his age, but not upon his intellectual maturity, the liability for forbidden intercourse in this situation would also not be limited to only apply if the boy is 9 years or more. Thus, it could be possible that the adult might not be liable for this intercourse even if the boy was 12 years old, but still not intellectually mature. Which would probably make a lot of people upset. Molesting a 12-year-old boy would definitely not be acceptable in most societies, and most courts, I would assume, would take it very seriously. If we have the death penalty for adults, it would definitely be a death penalty for an adult that molested a child. But that would be up to a court to make that decision. It's not mandated by Torah law, but the option is still there. See the author's exclamation in footnote 40 above. The physical growth is not part of this debate, and therefore the minimum age for Torah law status of sexual relations with young male is equal to that as for Jews at 9 years old. So we go back and forth with these different options. Is it 12 years old? Is it not? Is it any age? And finally, the decision is it's the same as the Torah law for a Jew, which is 9 years old. That's the point where it will be mandatory to. That's the point where it will be mandatory to have a capital punishment, and then younger than that, it would be optional. Topic number 2. A man should not seclude himself alone with another man who is suspected of desiring or committing homosexual acts in an area that is not readily open to public access or view, either in a city or a field, so that he should not come to transgression. Rabbi Zalman Nechemia Goldberg says there appears to be no prohibition upon a Gentile being alone together, unaccompanied with a person who he is forbidden to have relations with. However, we find in Avot the Rabbah Nathan, chapter 1, Mishnah 5, that Adam took extra precautions, as we see that he told Chava not to touch the tree of knowledge. He only erred in telling her that this precautionary enactment was not a divine commandment. See also Avot the Rabba Natan, chapter 2, Mishnah 5, that Job took on the extra precaution not to look at unmarried women. This needs further analysis. So there's a chapter later on in this unit of forbidden relations that talks about the concept of yikud, and there's a lot of strictness regarding the Jewish people as to whether people are allowed to be alone together. And usually, if I remember it properly, the people that are forbidden to eat, well, it's not necessary. I don't know how to describe it. The rules are a little different from what's being described here. Men normally would be allowed together. And even if a person is homosexual, they would normally be allowed together unless that creates a difficult situation for them. If it creates a difficult situation for them, then they would need to be cautious. Otherwise, normally men would not be a problem being together, just like women would not normally have a problem being together. But if there's this difficult situation that is involved within the dynamic, then they should be cautious in that area. I think that's what's being said here. Likewise, one should not let a male child or adolescent stay alone with such a man as his private student, apprentice, or worker, or send a male youth to a destination under his escort because he is suspecting of desiring to commit homosexual acts. So and then again, it's if we know that with teachers and with ministers and that and this would also be women, girls that should not be left alone with certain people. I mean, the question is whether or not we trust an adult. And as is seen a lot in our society, it's difficult to trust adults. And it's best that schooling and apprenticeships and those kind of things need to be set up in such a way that it protects the people involved. And we're learning how to do that in our society, and hopefully we'll learn better about how to do that in our society. And it would not just be homosexual, although that would be part of the broader category of whether an adult has interest in a child. In such cases, there needs to be lots of precautions. Thank you.